Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. You know what I mean? Check this out. Now, somebody just said, hey, you know something? I'm still the undisputed champ, right? And that would be Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis, undisputed champ, last undisputed heavyweight champion. Now, you know, you can have an asterisk next to those Klitschko's because that was undisputed was in the family. We gotta acknowledge that they couldn't fight each other, and let's be real. We can't ask no brothers to fight each other. Not boxing, right? They can. If it was another sport, we can have it. You know, we got people play basketball against each other or tennis, but you ain't boxing against each other. But so the Klitschko's would probably have been undisputed, especially Vitaly. But they what? Bottom line is the last undisputed champ is Lennox Lewis, and he beat Vitaly in his very last fight. So that's letting you know what Lennox Lewis is. He's my GOAT, right? So I'm a little biased here, but I just like, you damn right. You damn right. When Lennox Lewis comes out and say I'm the last undisputed guy, I'm undisputed. And you know, this is very important, and this is important to boxers. Right? We sitting here talking right now about Terrence Crawford and Spence and Terrence Crawford and his, you know, promoter, whatever. But what Terrence Crawford is undisputed at 140 pounds. And that's something, because right now in boxing, there's only two people that are. And that's Terrence Crawford and your boy Alexander Usyk. And undisputed, you know, you had undisputed back when it was 3 belts, but about 25 years right now, 25 closing in on 30 years, the WBO is important. So now you got to have all 4 belts to do so, and it's not easy to do. And in boxing, this is why I harp on this so much, because boxing does everything to not have it. When we have undisputed fights, people don't mention them. They get, you know, people just ignore it like it's not there. Like Canelo Alvarez versus Demetrius Andrade last year. That would have been for one champion in the middleweight division. We ignore it like it's not there. So, you know, undisputed for me, that's where my consistency will come in, right? Undisputed. I like, you know, when I'm talking Lennox Lewis and I consider him the GOAT, I have my reasons. And, you know, they're pretty much documented. The dude's big enough to deal with whoever, the biggest and the smallest ones. And I don't think nobody 5'11", you know, 190 pounds is beating Lennox Lewis, and I don't care what their name is, right? And, you know, throughout the history. And what irked me the other day, and that's why I was glad to see this article so I can talk about it, is I saw a top 10 all-time list, heavyweight list, right? And Lennox Lewis' name wasn't in there. And for me, that's blasphemous. I don't care how far back you go on the list, you know, way back to black and white TVs or before TVs or whatever. But to not have Lennox Lewis in the top 10 is blasphemous. Because then you'll have people that like Mike Tyson. Like he's supposed to be in front of Lennox Lewis. Are you kidding me? It's not. Right? And that's why when I'm, you know, we're talking about like Deontay Wilder and your boy Anthony Joshua. And I like to make sure before I always go in on Joshua, because I think Joshua was the reason why he and Deontay Wilder didn't fight. I have my reasons for that, and you should too if you look at all the information, right? But okay. And so, you know, you try telling people for England, this is not an English thing. This is just who I think would fight, right? So when you're talking, you know, I think Lennox Lewis is English. Mike Tyson isn't. Right? So I would, you know, so I go in on Mike Tyson when people put him in front of Lennox Lewis the same way I do with Anthony Joshua over Deontay Wilder. The exact same way. It's about being fair. Give a damn where they're from. That's the difference. I don't care how they look either. That's another difference. Right? And I mean that. That's the difference between me and a lot of people out there, especially people in the comment section. I don't, you know, how they just be talking. Lennox Lewis is a GOAT. And Tyson should not be above him in any list, nowhere, never. Ever. Right? Never. Right? And we always just slip him in there. Like he's, you know, I beat Tyson. I wanted him the whole time. He fought Holyfield instead of me because he was the easier touch, similar to Lomachenko fighting Teofimo Lopez instead of Devin Haney. Right? And Lennox Lewis was the one that nobody wanted to fight the whole time. You got a Riddick Bowe throwing the damn belt in the trash can instead of fighting him, even though they had an agreement to fight. Bowe beats Evander Holyfield, and Lennox Lewis beat Razor Ruddock. The winners were supposed to fight. Both said no. The WBC is the only one at that time who said, we sticking with what our plan was. That's how Lennox Lewis got the belt. People, you don't ignore people, just like the people nowadays. You don't want to not fight somebody if they're easy. Like a Zamareta right now. If he had a title, everybody would be trying to fight him. They weren't trying to fight Lennox Lewis and go in the other direction. Just like they're doing with a Demetrius Andrade right now. Under the radar, but he's awesome. Devin Haney. Under the radar, but he's awesome. People are trying to fight other people instead of them. It's the same thing been going on for the longest. Right? For the longest. So yeah, Lennox Lewis came out and said, I'm still undisputed. And damn it, he's right about that. Right? So Lennox, here's the deal, dude. We understand your greatness. You know what I'm saying? I ain't the only one. People know what time it is when it comes to Lennox Lewis. Because you were loud and brash, people try to act like they didn't see what they saw. But damn it, if you're not in somebody's top 10 all time, and in my top 3, matter of fact, 1, right? Then ignore those lists. Because they just forgot somebody. Let's hope they forgot. Because at the bottom line, Lennox Lewis not in a top 10 all-time list is absolutely irresponsible and blasphemous. It is what it is. So yes, Lennox Lewis saying I'm still undisputed and ain't nobody can do nothing about it except try to become undisputed. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all. Later.